So you want to work in marketing, huh? Well, actually, this video is more about you already are working in marketing, or maybe you want to pivot into digital marketing and how to ace that interview. Now, some of these questions I think are awesome, but a lot of them fall into a category like this, which is not one answer. There isn't one exact thing here that you could say. There isn't one exact thing here that's going to guarantee you to get the job or get to the next stage of the interview. But I do have 5 tips for you to ace your interview. And I hope that this isn't something you're watching when your interview is tomorrow. I hope this is something that you're watching as you're thinking about your career path, because these 5 things are about you and about honestly having a great interview with someone like me working at an agency, somebody who is a really senior person in a marketing department when you're looking for a role in-house on the client side, or if it's something that maybe you're looking at how you can have marketing as your own business, or that this is something that you want to be able to do more of. So here are the 5 things that I think are really important. Now, who am I? My name is Chris Milton. I run a marketing agency. I actually run 3 marketing agencies that focus mainly on digital strategy, engagement, and we do that through content marketing, website development, social media, and just overall kick-ass strategy. So when I'm looking for things with people who are interviewing with me, and if you're watching this before you have an interview with me, I hope you ace these 5 things, because then that shows me that you're actually kind of doing step 2 and step 3, and you're getting a really good idea of what you can actually be doing to make an impact in the interview. So let's jump into them. I've got some notes here that I'm going to look at so I make sure that I get it right. So first way to ace a marketing interview is have a project that you're wanting to talk about. And ideally, this is something I gave a keynote about to, 3 or 4 different colleges now with their 4th year business students, talking about build a website, figure out a side project. The best thing you could do right now is to have a money making side hustle. And that's not to say that you have another business on the side. That's just showing that you used your marketing sense to figure out how to make $5, figuring out how to make $20 a month, having a blog that generates AdSense that covers the cost of hosting, little things like that, that you can then really show you tinkered, you built something, you figured it out. And on the other side, you have something that has a level of viability that most people don't have, because a lot of these things are theoretical that they're talking about. Or it's a project that you worked on at your previous job and you're able to disclose some of the details that you can talk about in an interview. You did something that in school became something that worked. But the bottom line of it is, be ready with something that is a glowing example of you practicing your craft. That's number 1. Number 2 is really have an understanding of what's happening currently and happening around you. Understanding some trends, understanding some tactics, understanding what challenges are now being faced because of different things that are happening in the ecosystem that's around us. So I'll give you a couple right here. Number 1, if you're watching this and we're publishing this March 2025, one of the big problems is the quality of content is being generated because people are overly relying on AI. It is not creating content that comes across as authentic unless somebody is really investing in AI, and then you probably don't really know how it's baked into their process. But most people that are just saying, write me a blog post that's going to get me traffic for my business, and then just copy and paste it from ChatGPT, that's a big problem. It's a big problem because it's not great content that's coming out there, because it's not good for the brand. The brand doesn't have their voice properly represented. And if somebody asked, like one of your competitors, asked ChatGPT the same question and they generated the exact same blog post, that means that the same blog post could be on multiple websites from companies that have no association with each other, and duplicate content is something that Google penalizes. So that's one of the problems that's out there. The second that is out there is being able to differentiate who is actually the authority in the marketplace. Because there's very low barrier to entry in the digital space, figuring out how to crack through and without having a massive amount of customer input, being able to establish yourself as the authority. That's another thing that's happening right now. And the third is platform change. So there's a lot of shifting between spending because it's spent best on different platforms. There are different monetization strategies that are happening. But with AI and how it's changing and making things a different landscape, where are we going to be in a couple years with better AI that's creating better photos, being able to create better photo editing tools, video editing tools, blog writing, like I mentioned in the first example, getting a lot better. Those sort of things mean that there could be somebody who completely disrupts a massive software player that has no way of coming around it because some new startup that is powered by AI that's cranking out things better than anyone else is making them look silly. And so new competitors are a big threat in the marketing space right now, particularly with software for marketers. So that, I think, are a couple that you can kind of dig into. And then there's also things that are happening with different platforms, depending on if you're in a different industry, if there's different things that are happening on e-commerce versus just a normal website, things to think about, but things you should definitely be willing to dive into. Number 3, be really honest about what tech stack you use. Now, this isn't to say that you are trying to find a job that is within one of these companies, but somebody understanding if your knowledge base is within Canva or within the Adobe Creative Suite, or understanding if you're better developing on top of WordPress versus you've only designed websites on Wix, or you typically are in the Shopify ecosystem. All of these things can work to your advantage. So make sure that you say them loud and proud. Instead of what we see in some of these interviews, we'll ask people saying, hey, you want this role and include some graphic design. How do you typically pull off graphic design tasks? And the answer that's like, oh, whatever you need, I'll figure it out. No. I want to know that if you have to do this as part of your job, that you're going to be proficient in the environment that you're happiest in. That's not to say that we're going to say no to whatever environment you're using, but it is to say if a client expects something to be done in InDesign, I want to know that you can crush it in InDesign instead of having to hesitate for a task that's for a client, right? This is also the same thing with understanding if you're great at HubSpot versus Salesforce. Yes, they're both CRMs. I have no doubt that you can figure it out, but you can talk more authoritatively about what you've done in HubSpot and how you feel that can translate to Salesforce. Now, to double down on this tech stack, I think it's really important that you also ask these questions. And it's okay and encouraged for you to ask these questions because it shows that you're a really strong candidate. You know, what CRM platform are you using? How do you guys publish your social media posts? If it's going to be part of my day-to-day, what are you using for your design software? These are all really great questions that I think, at least for me, I can't speak for everyone who's hiring, but for me, those are things that really actually are helpful and really good to know that you've thought about those things and you as a candidate for a job want to make sure that you're actually in a good position to do your best work. Okay? Next up, let's see. So we have covered have a project to talk about, know what's happening, have a tech stack. Number 3, understand the type of marketing that will be done or that you're going to be doing in your role or you're really good at. And don't try to cut corners with this. So what I want to see in this question is understanding if you've typically done all product marketing, to understand and own that and not try to sell the fact that you know the ins and outs of B2B marketing for SaaS. This is really important to understand all of the things you've worked on in the past and how to qualify them and make sure that you can also show what you may not know. But again, just like the tech stack example, understanding that even though you might be working in a marketplace that in a place that currently has a really big marketplace focus on PPC because they need unbranded traffic, you shifting to a social platform that is currently being done, you can be a quick learner, but you also maybe be able to answer or offer some insights that would be even better because the rest of the team may not have the depth of examples that you have within the product marketing space. So really understand and own what you've done and why it's worked, why it hasn't worked. And even though it may not be exactly relevant to the new role that you're moving into, understand where you can probably bring some extra value. And lastly, be really honest about the role that you played within your last marketing role. And what I mean by this is, can you replicate the results again? And so understanding that if you were the person who is doing the creative for the most successful campaign that that company has run before, you probably aren't going to be the one that can replicate the results unless similar roles around you are complementing you. Sure, you could do the creative again and crush it, but if someone is not doing the right ad strategy, it's probably not going to work. If it's a really great way of how you approach things so that it plugs into everything you're doing, talk about that. But understand that you're stepping in not as a freelance marketer to do everything. You're stepping into an environment where you're expected to do the right things in your scope really, really well. And make sure that that's something that's really clear. And this is probably where there's more things that are going to be uncovered about what your strengths are rather than thinking about what those weaknesses could be. So be really honest about the complementary roles that are required for you to have an honestly amazing time, but let's have a really honest interview as well about how you can do your best. So I hope those 5 things are great. Those are all things that I cover and look for when we're interviewing for new marketing roles at our agency. And so good luck in your career. You've chosen an incredibly fun thing to do. At least I think it's a lot of fun within the industry and what you can do for a job that is just a nice healthy balance of technology and data and being creative and being around people and solving problems. And so I think this is something that is really great, and I hope you enjoy the next step in your career. Good luck in the interview, and I hope to hear that it went well.